I'm delighted to say Katherine Waterston is in the studio. Katherine, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Oh gosh, I keep saying that. My father would kill me.
Why?
I'm well, thank you.
Why?
Bad English.
Is it?
I'm good? Yes, I don't think you're meant to say that.
I think
I
think that's okay though.
Really?
Yes. Plus, you were born in London, so you can speak whatever kind of English you like.
But I feel like here more than anywhere, they value proper speaking, good grammar.
Don't. It's fine. You're Katherine Waterston. You're in the new Alien movie.
I can do whatever I want.
You absolutely can, because I've seen you with one of those gun things, and you're very good. Anyway,
thanks.
Welcome to the program. So, first of all, explain where this movie fits in the Alien universe.
It's a sequel to Prometheus and a prequel to the original Alien movie.
Tell us about Daniels, who's your character.
Daniels, at the beginning of the film, is fourth in command on a small crew who are headed to a planet they've discovered called Origai 6, which is like the best planet they could possibly find where we think we could sustain human life. So it's a colonization mission. That's one thing about this film that's totally different from all the other Alien movies. The crew is made up of couples, and they're also carrying with them a couple thousand civilians they basically vowed to protect and bring to this new place to start a new world, really.
So you're fourth in command. I like the way you said at the beginning, at the start of the movie, you're fourth in command. Obviously, these things change as the movie
as
progresses.
They do.
And you are a terraforming expert?
Yeah, basically I'll be responsible for growing food when we get there and setting up the camps and keeping the humans going.
Yeah, and what kind of a woman is she?
I think she's very smart, loves what she does, very capable and adventurous, but I don't think she necessarily thinks of herself as some kind of, natural born leader. I think she's happy at the beginning of the film. She was pleased with her status on the ship. She's not power hungry, but she's just one of those people when the what hits the fan, has great instincts and a clear head in moments of crisis. I thought that was an interesting element because it's something I've always wondered about myself, It's an unanswerable question. How will you function in an unimaginable, horrible situation? There's stories of mothers saving their children by lifting burning vehicles, finding strength that they couldn't possibly. It's like an inexplicable strength. But other people, like that wonderful film Force Majeure, some people run away and you just don't know which person you're going to be until you're faced with a situation like that.
So she's a good leader. It's clearly, and obviously we don't want to give anything away. And I sense it's a difficult film to talk about without spoiling it, because loads of people will just want to go and see the movie tonight, not knowing anything about it
That's
at all.
Right, yeah.
Let's be as obtuse as possible. So it's a very physically demanding role, I would say.
Correct.
Just explain some of I imagine you had to do a lot of training. What kind of stuff did you have to do to get ready to play Daniels?
Well, when I first got the job, I thought, okay, I've got to go to some kind of intense boot camp for a month and get really big guns and get super jacked and look tough. And then the more I started to think about the character and talk to Ridley about it, I decided I didn't really want her to look like a warrior or a superhero at the beginning of the film. So I just got myself to a place where I thought I wouldn't get injured doing the stunts, but I didn't build big muscles. And then as we were figuring out all of the action sequences and the stunts that I would do, I tried to incorporate skills that she might naturally have as a terraformist rather than martial arts moves or something that you might see in another kind of action film. So that's why I, at one point, use an axe as a weapon, things I thought she would sort of already have a familiarity with. And then Ridley and I also talked about what weapons training she might have, because I thought, would she even really know how to use this thing? And he said, no. He thought that we would all have gone through some basic boot camp. So then, of course, we did that for real before we started shooting. And on some level, that boot camp was as scary as anything we did in the movie, because we're in this massive studio and everybody was shooting off these blanks and it was so loud and so disturbing. And the wonderful actors who played sort of our security team on the crew were shouting lots of orders at each other, and I just felt really sinister and scary. But it was a wonderful way in to the character in the world. I love doing the stunts.
And what was the most difficult stunt they asked you to do?
Well, it's a toss-up because one of the hardest things to do was to walk over the side of the building, just because it's kind of like doing a trust fall and it's very disconcerting. you know you're on wires and you'll be fine. But it's hard to kind of tip yourself off the side of something that's very high off the ground. So that was just a sort of mental challenge. It was fun to kind of get over it. And once you get the feel for it, then it's kind of hard for them to get you off the wires. We want to keep going because it's so much fun. And then there was another one that was my idea, so I had to do it, which was I'm sort of sliding off the side of the ship when it's at an angle. And I thought it would be good to sort of try to use the axe like as you would with an ice pick if you were sliding down a sheet of ice, because she's her husband had sort of established that they rock climb and things. So I thought she might know how to use this thing. And it doesn't work, but I'm trying to stick it into the metal to sort of break my fall. And it was my idea, and Ridley let me do it. So then I felt I couldn't complain when my whole body was getting bruised up really badly. And so by the end of that day, I looked like I'd been in a car crash or something. And then the makeup team had to put bruises on me at one point, and I had so many that they just used my real bruises. And then later when we had to return to that scene, they had to then paint on where my original bruises had been.
When you walk onto an Alien set, in my mind, that must be a fairly astonishing thing, just because the images is so iconic, built up over a number of movies, over a number of years. When you actually walked on to one for the first time, what did you think?
Well, we were sort of, I don't want to actually, I was going to say we were sort of eased into it, but we started with a lot of the exteriors in New Zealand. Some of the cast flew in on a small plane, but Ridley invited a few of us onto the helicopter he was flying in on. So there's a perspective in the film of the spaceship landing on this new planet. That was our first view of this place. We flew in through the mountains, surrounded by the waterfalls, and so it was wonderful to really have that experience, because then, a few weeks later we shot the scene where we were landing there and arriving and having the same view. But in a sense, we eased into it because we shot all those exteriors first. And then when we got to Sydney and we walked onto the set the first day, we were in the spaceship. And it was the entire crew, all of us there the first day together, seeing it at the same time. And the eyes were just darting around the room, like saucers. And no one could believe their good fortune and how amazing it looked.
I guess Michael Fassbender's probably more used to it.
Well, he could believe it, yeah. But no one was paying attention to him because he's dull and not interesting to look at or be around.
And so he's playing two roles.
Yeah.
And they're both AI characters. I'm saying all this, and I'm looking for visual clues in case I'm saying things that you think that I shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay. So what's it like playing opposite Michael when he is being emotionless and doing that whole AI thing, which we've seen him do before?
Honestly, it was one of the most fascinating experiences of my life. I felt like I was getting this sort of preview into maybe what my great-grandchildren's generation will experience, because they're rapidly developing this stuff. And to engage with something that looks human and that you can't help but project human emotions onto is very, very disconcerting. And I found within every scene I played with him, particularly when he was playing Walter, who's the AI that Daniels is closer to, I had to keep reminding myself. I kept feeling a bond with him. I kept convincing myself. I found I was convincing myself he was feeling things for me, and not romantically, but just a strong bond. And then I'd smile or look at him and I'd be met with this steely blank disconnect that was so well acted that I genuinely was disturbed by it.
Is it true you're quite squeamish?
Yes.
So when you're on a movie, and speaking just in general terms, there's blood and prosthetics.
Well, actually, I should correct you. Okay. I'm not squeamish, but I scare easily. I actually can kind of handle the blood. It doesn't freak me out too much.
You scare easily?
Yeah, I'm terrified of mice, for example, and I'd be on this table if a mouse ran across the floor. Okay,
it's something to bear in mind when people go and see Alien Covenant, that here is someone who, let's just say in the course of the movie, faces monsters slightly bigger than mice, that actually you're scared of them. You're scared of mice.
Yeah, I know. That's I think part of what's so much fun being an actor is that you get to pretend that you're all these wonderful things you are not.
Can I ask you, just a number of people will make the reference and make the comparison with Sigourney Weaver, obviously Ripley's character, which you're not doing. This is not another version of Ripley. But I've also read that actually you found more inspiration and more thought-provoking ideas from Carl Sagan. So I don't know whether that is true, but I mean, he obviously, what an extraordinary man he was. He also wrote Contact, which became the Jodie Foster film. But is that true that Carl Sagan was quite an inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, he's such an extraordinary man and a beautiful writer too. So it's nice to have some things lying around to look at when you're in between scenes and stuff to just kind of keep your head in the game. And there's this sort of subtle debate going on between my character and Billy Crudup's character about our sort of place in the universe and questions about God and creation and everything and
all that.
And so yeah, it was fun to have some of Carl Sagan's ideas in my head at the time.
Now, so being part of the Alien franchise now and the Fantastic Beasts franchise as well, it must be a fairly astonishing, head-turning experience for you, having been a theatre actor and having been, I mean, you've been an actor for a long time, but now all of a sudden you are in the brightest of spotlights.
It might sound like a lie, but it's so strange. Honestly, I get mistaken for a boy more often than I get recognized for being an actress in any of these films. Yeah. I mean, I never get...
Like when?
My life hasn't changed at all since all this has happened.
Who's confused you for a boy? I don't believe that, by the way.
I was sitting in the emergency exit row on a plane recently, and I was sitting next to two men, and the flight attendant came over and said, "Gentlemen, just a couple things about the emergency exit row. You know, are you all comfortable helping out in a time of crisis and all that?" Yeah, and I thought, okay, she's gonna figure it out in a second, and then poor thing, she's gonna blush, she's gonna feel bad, but she just went right on talking. She had no idea.
So you don't feel as though your life has changed particularly?
No, I mean, my career has changed. I'm lucky to be employed a lot more often than I used to be. But no, I haven't experienced much.
And having been part of these extraordinary moves and Fantastic Beasts, I think, is that filming at the moment? Are you doing...
In July, we begin.
In July. Does it make you think, I would like to go back and do the stage? I would like to go and do theatre again, just as a kind of a cleanse?
I'd like to go do a play again just because I really miss doing plays. It's a little difficult when you're shooting things that take a long time to make because of the theater schedule. It takes a long time with a rehearsal and everything too. So it would sort of be possible to do one movie and maybe one play if it was a long run or something in a year. It's difficult to schedule it. And then, of course, I got to find someone who would want to hire me to do a play, but I am missing it a lot.
You can see Katherine Waterston in Alien Covenant and then Fantastic Beasts, the second volume, once that has been filmed, and then maybe a play at some stage in the future. And you can tell your dad when you see him next that your English was tip-top.
Subpar.
No. And you can see Sam Waterston in Miss Sloane.
Oh, yes.
And he's fantastic in it. So.
Yes.
So we had Jessica Chastain on the show last week.
Oh, I love her.
Katherine, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks. I always feel like when I put the headphones on, like I'm doing some kind of like sexy love advice radio show. Hello, thank you.